Hello and welcome to another UC Partner Trend session. I'm Tom Wright and I'm delighted to be joined by John from Verint. How's it going, John? Thanks for being with us today.
Great. How are you doing, Tom? Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, I'm doing very well. I'm looking forward to this conversation, actually. We're going to be talking about customer experience, and I think it's fair to say that customer expectations for CX are constantly evolving. So I wonder to start with, you could talk through some of the key trends that are shaping customer behavior, maybe give some guidance on how partners can adapt their offerings to cater for these needs and ultimately stay ahead of the curve.
Sure. Two questions in one there, Tom. I saw what you did there. Verint is a CX automation company. That's what we do. So CX is obviously top of mind on everything that Verint provides to our customers. I think if you look at customers today, I think it's no secret that customers want to self-serve as much as they can. Nobody really wants to talk to a live agent unless they absolutely have to. And I think self-service has come on leaps and bounds, but I still think there's an awful lot we can improve around CX. We all have stories about interacting with chatbots that have driven us crazy and didn't solve a problem and just only hastened us to get on a call to a live agent. So I think we've invested a lot in IVAs, intelligent virtual assistants, regardless of the channel. So customers might use an app on their phone, or they may use some sort of chat session on a browser, which is also very typical, or even text and SMS. In some parts of the world they use WhatsApp quite a lot. In the US, it tends to be more SMS focused. So I think customers want the choice to be able to self-serve is the biggest thing. And that simply means that the sheer volume of interactions and customer engagement sessions that are going on now is exponential. So providing more CX technology that allows customers to interact with brands in the way they want to and to try and self-serve as much as they can, I think is the single biggest focus we have here at Verint. And I think the other thing that's happened, well, I know the other thing that's happened, as more and more capability is now with the customer themselves to self-serve. When you finally do get through to a live agent, the questions tend to be more complex, the interactions tend to be longer, because all the simple stuff is gone, right? So the other thing we see that's happening is training of agents, providing real-time assistance to agents to help them solve complex problems, or to provide knowledge on the fly based upon the conversation is, I think, the other thing that we're seeing is a big trend. And I think for partners, which was the second part of your question, the potential to build managed services business around things like IVA and customer self-service and agent assistance and knowledge is tremendous. And all of those things, I sort of have this little adage I say, knowledge as a service never ends. Because you're always curating knowledge, you're improving knowledge, you're adding knowledge, right? You're rendering knowledge in different ways, and it never stays the same. So.
You listed a few of the opportunities there for partners, or the potential opportunities. I wonder if you could talk through, in your experience, what you see as some of the blockers or the challenges in partners getting into or building a CX business.
No, that's a great question, and it's top of mind these days, actually. Certainly for Verint, our business is always centered around the contact center. And historically, we started doing voice recording and quality monitoring. It was a very agent-centric type of approach. So, and a lot of our partners were reselling contact center infrastructure via Cisco, Genesys, whatever it might be. And of course, all that was on premise. Partners made money reselling perpetual licenses, doing maintenance renewals, doing installs of Verint technology and contact center infrastructure technology. The big thing that's changed in the market for a lot of those partners is everything's in the cloud now. And all the innovations in the cloud and all the new stuff's in the cloud. So the ability to make money in the old way is gone. Right? You don't make money doing installs anymore and doing complex support anymore. So the transition from being a consulting business or an aggregator or a managed service business is a road that we see a lot of partners are on. But it does require potentially some retooling. So the people that would have been great to deploy a really complex contact center on premise and complex applications on premise and maintain those are maybe not the best skills for more consulting based, CX consulting or EX consulting capabilities. It's a different skill set. So I think there's a certain amount of retooling going on that we're seeing in a lot of our partners. And they've become, I think I mentioned aggregators. We see more partners becoming aggregators where they bring together multiple solutions to create a complete system for their customers, right? From multiple vendors, and then they're responsible for making sure everything works together. I think a lot of customers like that because they want to deal with less vendors. So if they can just deal with one vendor who provides everything for them, whether it comes from multiple places or there's some homegrown IP thrown there as well, I think customers really like that, right?
Yeah, and I guess the technology being in the cloud opens the door for new partners to sell CX technology. Maybe they come from an IT background or maybe a UC background and hadn't sort of played in the CX world before. Are there any kind of types of partners that you think should be looking at CX technology to transfer some of those skills? And maybe who is it you'd be looking to work with at Verint and try and bring into the CX world?
It's a really interesting question, and I think it's a great question. Like I said, a lot of our partners, historical partners or legacy partners, were very focused around the contact center itself, which was really all about agents and infrastructure. I think customer engagement, especially if you look at digital customer engagement through websites or assisted chat, it's not always the contact center that is responsible for those parts of the business, especially when you start adding in things like mobile apps. So I think the partners that build those types of solutions that may be more on the marketing side of the house, that have sold to a marketing buyer as opposed to a contact center buyer, I think those would potentially be great partners for CX, because it's a lot more than just a phone call, like I said now, right? So there's a lot of that digital self-service that I think a lot of businesses build, a lot of technology companies offer those, but they aren't necessarily historically aligned with the contact center per se, but it is all part of CX and EX. So I would also include partners that build employee surveys, those kind of solutions. We have offerings as well as part of our portfolio for that side of the business. That's all anything to do with customer experience or employee experience. Anybody that sells solutions into that space would definitely be great potential partners for Verint.
And it would be good to talk a bit more about Verint, actually. I wonder if you could go through kind of what's top of your mind at the moment when it comes to working with partners, what's kind of dominating your discussions at the moment.
So, over the last few years, Verint has sort of transitioned to be a cloud vendor. So all of our products now are offered as SaaS offerings. We've also transitioned to a CX automation vendor. That's how we see ourselves. It's sort of a relatively new category if you want to think about categories, but people use CX a lot. But we're very, very focused on being a CX automation vendor. We provide technology and a platform that helps improve customer engagement and employee engagement. And part of that is we're very, very focused on business outcomes. Part of our messaging is, the infrastructure you've got is probably fine. The applications you've got that work for you, keep them there, great. So we position very much as open. Open really means two things. It means whatever your contact center infrastructure is, we'll work with it. Whether you're still running premise systems or you've moved to CCaaS or you're in transition, it's fine. We integrate with everything. And if you've got, your CRM systems or your CDP systems or your data lakes, we're not looking to disrupt anything else that you've already got that works, which is the other aspect of open, right? Keep the applications that work for you, keep the infrastructure that works for you, and you can start anywhere with Verint.
Great. And I've just got one final question for you, John. I guess it's asking you to look into the crystal ball a little bit. I wonder if you could pick out some of the emerging technologies that you think will have the biggest impact on the CX industry this year, and maybe some of the areas that we can expect to see Verint move into?
I don't know, how long have we been talking? 10 minutes, and nobody said AI yet. So, I mean, the closing question, I really have to talk about AI. So, but nobody buys AI, right? It's a thing, right? So what we do, we bring AI to life with bots, and we've got about 50 bots now that we offer. And the bots are built to do one thing really, really well. They're either there to augment an agent, to help an agent. We're not necessarily looking to replace agents at all. So we have bots that will automatically generate knowledge based upon real-time voice interactions, for example. And we have bots that do real-time voice analysis. But we also have bots that would help an agent with their schedules, right? So one of the new bots we just announced, actually the press release went out yesterday or today, is a bot we call TimeFlex that allows agents who are now working at home, which is the other big change that's been going on in our industry. In the old days, if I can call them the old days, agents would go into a brick and mortar contact center and work an 8-hour contiguous shift, right? There was very little ability to move shifts around. You could maybe move the day, you could maybe move your start time, things like that. But the TimeFlex bot we've just introduced allows agents who are at home or in a remote environment to break their shifts up into different parts, right? So if they know they have to work 40 hours a week, TimeFlex allows them, based upon lots of rules and some AI under the covers, to move their shifts around, break their shifts up. So if they need to work for a couple of hours in the morning, take a couple of hours off, take the kids to school, whatever they need to do, they can rearrange their shifts and still work the amount of hours they need to do, but it doesn't have to be in one contiguous block. And I think that plays to agent wellness. So we think about EX and employee engagement. This is a sort of a path to improve some of that. I think it's a new world, and we've got to recognize that agents are dealing with more complex calls, like I said before. Training requirements are higher, and brands can't afford the same turnover in the agent populations they used to see in the past. They really need to keep their people.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting time for the industry, John, and I appreciate you giving us the time to talk through some of those points today. It's been great talking to you.
You too, Tom. Thank you very much.
And thank you everyone for watching. Remember, you can follow the full UC Partner Trend series on uctoday.com. That's all from me. Thanks for watching.